We all know the story of the grocery guy turned football player, but how important was it for you, Kurt, to see more of the story pre that?
It was vital for me to show more than the football side of things. I think twofold. First of all, there are a lot of people that know the football story, and again, it's what led to the movie, and so it's portrayed extremely well in the movie. But if that's all somebody got out of the movie was it was this guy and the story that we already knew, I don't think it's going to be it would have been nearly as powerful as what they're going to get, and that is really what's behind the story, what's behind the journey, what really helped to shape me as an individual. And for me, we've always done this together, and so that to me was vital as well. Is that this isn't just my story; it's our story, and I just don't know if we would have ever made the movie had it not been that way. You know, we had a lot of people that came through and wanted to make this movie, and of course they could get the football part right because it's right in front of them. And we said quite often, we're not going to make this movie unless we make it right. We make it the movie that we want it to be, not just going to do it. And we found the right people to do just that and to share our story, our family story, and the underdog story that underlies everything that we've been through. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that's what's going to make it a really, really good movie and a powerful movie that impacts a lot of people is the rest of the story, not just the football story.
The emotional weight of the film is really based on your character, and I thought it was well done, but what was your biggest fear about your story coming to the big screen?
My fear would be just me being vulnerable. It's not my nature. I'm not comfortable doing that. Maybe it is being a former Marine, but I have to relive it every time it's played. And it's been some hard times, and I don't want to give away the movie, but I think people are going to relate to those hard times maybe more than they relate to holding up a Super Bowl trophy. So if it helps somebody get through their hard time, then I know it's worth it. And I'm ready for that. I'm ready, to give that part of me again for people to connect to it and hopefully, take something from it.
And I believe that the symbolic part of it is that, she says she didn't hold up the trophy, but in essence, she held up the trophy with me through all the things that she went through as she was chasing whatever that is, because she said, how many people get an opportunity to play in the NFL? But that's not the story. The story isn't just about people that want to play professional sports. It's about, you have your supermarket moments, right? You have those moments where it doesn't go the way you want it to go. But that doesn't have to be where it ends. And it didn't end that way for me, and it didn't end that way for Brenda. And that, to me, is the message, and the symbolic part of it is that she was holding up the Super Bowl trophy at the end of the day, even though it looked differently.
So for me, one of the things I think I loved about the story was the single mom or single parent is always looked at as damaged goods, right? And I love how this story flips that. But what made Kurt at that moment not look at Brenda at that moment as damaged goods?
Well, first of all, let me say, I don't know if I had that viewpoint from the get-go. I mean, I remember when she first told me that, there was that wrestling match of going, okay, I didn't expect that. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if I can handle that. And, there was plenty of people along the way, just as you said, that portrayed that same message. Like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, they're not your kids. How are you going to go along with that? So there was a wrestling match there to go, okay, what do I do with this? And then, as you saw in the movie, there's the background of being raised by a single mom and having that dynamic and understanding some of the challenges that went with that. And then looking back and going, oh, shoot, talk about the baggage. I was the baggage. I was that baggage for a long time for my mom. And so ultimately it came down to, okay, I understand the perception. I understand, what you're wrestling with. Go meet the kids. Go explore what this could be. And maybe it's not for you, and maybe you can't handle it. But don't just walk away without at least seeing, what this is all about. And thus, me going to her house the next day and just going, okay, she was very upfront, like, I'll never see you again, I get it. And for me, it was like, okay, let's do this right now. Then let me see the kids, and let me meet the kids, and let me decide right now whether we're going to move forward with this or not. And we joke all the time in our relationship that I fell in love with the kids first. And without a doubt, I think that's true. It was harder because she put up more walls and she was watching from afar. I fell in love with the kids. And so when a lot of people would say, it's the baggage that comes with it. I went and looked at it like, oh my gosh, look at the blessings that I get with this relationship. I don't just get Brenda, I get these two amazing kids and everything that they bring to the table and everything that they taught me. But I would have never done that had I not taken that first step, and I would have bought into that whole adage that, oh, you don't want to have that baggage. You don't want everything that comes along with this relationship. And so I can't say that I was prepared for it. I can't say I really knew what I was doing, but I'm glad that I took that first step, and I'm glad that she was very out front with it, because I think that was part of it, was that first day, first night, here's the deal, figure it out from here. And it made me kind of step into that and go, all right, what are you going to do? But that first step, I think, really changed everything.
Yeah, I got 3 stepsons, so I understand
Oh,
100%.
okay.
So I think Hayden Zeller steals our hearts throughout the entire film. He was amazing. What was it like seeing him bring young Zach to life?
Oh, it was absolutely beautiful to watch. I got to know him before the whole thing happened, and hearing his story alone, he's an American underdog. And then for him to feel honored to play my son was just so beautiful to watch. And we wanted to know more about him, and he would ask me questions so he could get it right. And basically he needed to just be love, and that's what he was in the movie, and that is what my son is still today. So he did a great job playing my son.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
He is.
Kurt, what does Kurt Warner now say to the other Kurt Warners in the world that are on the verge of throwing in the towel?
I think one of our messages, and we talk about it all the time in our family, having 7 kids, is we always share the message, never let your circumstances define you. And I think that's the message that I would share with anybody and everybody, whether it's a single mom, whether it's the dreamer that's in the grocery store, whether it's the parents of a child that's going through some struggles, whether it's the child that's going through some struggles. Is it so easy to allow our circumstances or what other people to say to define us? To me, it's so important to always define yourself and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm capable of, this is what I deserve, and not let anything affect that. And so that would be my message to everybody, no matter where they find themselves and what circumstances they find themselves in, is believe in who you are, understand who you are, and stand in that, because that's ultimately what's going to help you to accomplish or chase or become who you want to become. I think one of our messages, and we talk about it all the time in our family, having 7 kids, is we always share the message, never let your circumstances define you. And I think that's the message that I would share with anybody and everybody, whether it's a single mom, whether it's the dreamer that's in the grocery store, whether it's the parents of a child that's going through some struggles, whether it's the child that's going through some struggles. Is it so easy to allow our circumstances or what other people to say to define us? To me, it's so important to always define yourself and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm capable of, this is what I deserve, and not let anything affect that. And so that would be my message to everybody, no matter where they find themselves and what circumstances they find themselves in, is believe in who you are, understand who you are, and stand in that, because that's ultimately what's going to help you to accomplish or chase or become who you want to become.
Last question. Are you guys nervous for the kids to see the film?
For our kids?
Yes.
I'm nervous for everybody to see the film. I was definitely nervous for my kids to see the film. But that to me has been the greatest blessing so far, is that our kids saw it, and our kids were emotionally touched by the movie more than, because she's spoken numerous times, and we always joke, she put together a speech, and the kids had the speech memorized, and so it was like, oh yeah, Mom, we know the story. And then, Dad, oh, we've heard the story, Dad. Yeah, you're working in a grocery store. And so they didn't really live those stories. They don't truly understand those stories. And so when they watched the movie, was I think the first time that all of them just kind of like go, dang, this is what Mom and Dad went through. This is what people are talking about. This is how they develop their character and their relationship. And so every one of our kids that has seen it, all of them haven't seen it yet, but every one of them has kind of said the same thing, like, wow, I didn't really get it until now. So I was nervous, but that to me has been the coolest. And nobody else enjoys the movie at all. Having our kids be impacted by it that way and truly understand our story and our love story, it'll all be worth it.